Like, you need to have investments coming into the city or even in industrial areas, then you need to have that modern image also. Because if somebody is, why does somebody come to a city? He comes to a city because he's hoping to earn a living in an industrious way and also at the same time have life, at the end of the day. We corporates, we talk about work-life balance. So surely some life at least at the end of the work. So that is why social infrastructure, etc. everybody talked about. So that is the kind of, that image has to be possible. That service is possible, service is available, And at the same time, given the information availability, informed decisions can happen. And I think one of the critical points that are there is that any government office, you need some sanction, some certificate, any interfacing you have to do with government, a lot of visits happen. So somewhere if the number of visits are reduced, Sir talked about the birth certificate available on digitally online. It's available in many corporations now, but the data has to happen, data has to be validated when somebody applies, the connectivity between the hospitals and the department has to be organized, data has to flow properly, and the citizen has to be validated, authenticated, then maybe that can happen. So many things, just certificate available can be very easy to talk about, but lots to do behind the whole thing to make it happen. So the reduced visits is one of the objectives that we had. So further detailing in terms of what exactly was the value proposition to beneficiaries, So what we tried to achieve is, it's the whole beneficiary value proposition was in 5 parts. When somebody goes online or somebody accesses the ICT infrastructure of the corporation, whether it's a city corporation or a industrial development corporation, they should have a virtual consultation. The information should be available in terms of what is to be done, what is available, etc. Then a lot of times people don't know then what to do next. So the forms should be available. Forms could be available at various levels. You could just download a form, or you could fill up a form, you could submit a form, or you could even get a feedback. So we went to that level also in terms of submission, in terms of processing and tracking, and even online approvals. So birth certificate is online approval and communication also, but there are others. One thing we believe is that the paper is not going to go. The paperless government is a myth. Okay? So in the whole framework, we've assumed that documents are going to be there. Documents will remain physical level as well as virtual level. So we need to handle both. So when I come to the framework, I'll talk about that also in terms of what exactly did we do. So this is the kind of details we went to make this possible, and that's what framework tried to do that. So coming to the next level, what is this framework ecosystem we were talking about? So we built a framework to have a complete portal, citizen service portal or a customer portal or investor portal, into an industrial area. Obviously the workflows and the information decision support structure, and it had obviously since we're talking of portal, it has the internet and the intranet, so you have all those aspects as well. And further in terms of various components, the components aspects of the solution, so that people can adopt. Some organizations are absolutely green, whereas some others are developed to some extent, so they can pick up the components and use. So let's try and understand what are the components that we talked of. So we built a component of citizen portal or a investor portal, where general public can access, the vendors can access, the departments obviously from outside also they can access, to the extent that when I get into details further I will talk about it. The approvals, a lot of officers now have various devices, so multiple devices are available. It's not just desktop or laptop, but the other devices also, whether you call it phablet, tablet or whatever, palm tops or whatever. So people can be able to approve on those, so that is the kind of facility we are giving through the citizen portal. And obviously field employees, So like I said, you'll see some solution components there, the file movement or document management, So typically in a portal, a citizen or a the prospective investor or even current property holder or a industrial plot holder can go online, register, and then whatever documents he needs to send, he submit the physical documents also for a service request. That's the kind of solution we're talking about. And obviously it does have the online payment facility, and people can even track their file online, through the web. If they know the number, they can know, because the whole department hierarchy, local office hierarchy is mapped onto that, and you can track the file in terms of where it is. So given the RTI, etc., I think that's some demand that is there, and this has been made possible here. So I'll just go further into details in terms of what is the component. If you see the extranet portal side of the components, we have something called a single window clearance solution, where we have about 30 services. Specifically, where I will talk about a case study that time I talk, but you can map multiple services, you can map it onto the hierarchy that has been built first, and then what happens typically is that the portal will have multiple colors in terms of the status of the service, and it has connectivity through the mail and SMS for people to know if movement happens on the file or the service request. So you have 4 colors, in terms of basic submission, draft submission. When the physical documents get received, then there's a confirmation from the officer, so that the citizen charter, in terms of the commitment of the cycle time for the service delivery, that gets valid from that date. So that is the second stage. Then there may be queries. The officers and the service request guy, whether citizen or customer, can query online. He can go on to his service request, send a query, or he can receive a query. He can come to know about the query on a SMS or a mail, and then he can respond physically or virtually. Okay. From citizen point of view, whether it's proper tax bill, water bill, etc., e-payment through BillDesk payment gateway, plus other banks are coming in now to provide complete e-banking kind of solution to the accounts. So that is what is going to happen. E-tendering is very much there, and internet for employees, employee self-service that typically we do have in corporates also, that's getting implemented right now. So the intranet or the ERP or the departments that we are talking about, the coverage is the general administration or the HR, the finance and accounts, and I think all the functions are covered from the works point of view, because the hub, the accounts, is integrated with the revenue side as well as cost side, the work side as well. So when works happen, works are allocated and the works are monitored, the works measurement is taken, and then it gets integrated to accounts and payment has to happen. And similarly, at the time of tendering also, revenue side also, when the customer comes to pay or when the bill gets raised, it's all integrated, typically ERP. So all that is done. And one of the areas which you will not normally see in most of the applications is the incidents management. Whether it is disaster or fire, the incidents management is also, each incident, each call is tracked, on the as far as the 2 parts is concerned, the intranet and internet, but I'll just get into the intranet a little bit more, because the work side, we have the works part, work solution has 3 components in that: the pre-tendering right from estimation, the central PWD manual, as per that the whole processing, and as per the CVC guidelines also, the e-tendering guidelines, we have created the whole pre-tendering part, the estimation or the administrative approval as well as technical approval, etc., and the items also as per the manual are taken, and you have various years of data in terms of the items, and then it moves into tendering as well as then the work monitoring. Again, all the bills, the major work measurement, etc., is as per the manual. So that's a very large solution, and it has actual connectivity with the in terms of budgeting. From urban budgeting point of view, the inclusive budgeting is a norm that is really coming in a big way. So works identification and what you need to know, then the maturity in terms of whatever works have happened, you need to have inventory on that, etc. So we've done that as well. So the GIS aspect also is getting integrated into the whole thing now, so that you can track in terms of what work has been done where and all that. So that's the kind of solution we integrated with the ERP as well as the intranet, the service portal, and obviously other applications also integrated with the possible at various levels of service possibility through the service portal. Some services are completely integrated back to back in the sense that moment the application is given online, but some of them are not, because some of the departments are not connected to the solution directly. Some departments are connected. So some services are back to back integrated, some are not. Some only you can get a link into those departments and get some information, and you can download the forms, etc. But that is the kind of integration we are talking about. So that's the kind of solution framework is what we have, and it's not only for a urban municipal corporation that we have. It is also now getting filed as for a development authority or at a state level municipal councils. And the one other abnormal value proposition, I will say, abnormal is because it is not normal from Microsoft, is that Microsoft has its own skin in this. Yeah, I'll take another 3 minutes. So we've tried to ensure that we build a delivery model for this kind of solution framework. We don't have just this framework; we have more frameworks getting built, and we have in various other areas also. So that's the abnormal proposition I'm talking about. Microsoft having its own commitment and time on this. So going to the next level of the case study, we have a state level cooperation. We also have other case studies that we can talk about, but this is the case study I will focus on today at least. This is a cooperation with about 1,600 crores kind of a volume and 3,000 plus workers, 200 locations kind of, So that's the kind of cooperation we're talking about. We're working with them for the last 3 years, and now we are in a situation where we'll change completely over to this. So the kind of modules we have is, you will see the urban modules missing from this because the typical urban services modules are not required for them, but these are accounts and finance, water billing and cess billing, because they also charge something like corporate tax, because they do give lots and whatever other services. Then HR, payroll, works management is a big part because they do the maintenance and the capital works in a big way. Then single window, obviously single window and the file movement. Fire, I told you, the insurance management part, and then the land, the whole board meeting, booklet, etc. It's a completely internally driven central provident fund and PR marketing environment. So environment is typically, a lot of times the capacity issue in government is a big challenge. So you need to borrow the capacity from somewhere, but not just having capacity is enough. The commitment of that capacity from outside also is critical. So that was done here. So that's my brief presentation to you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Muralidhar Hunnoor, General Manager, Wipro Company. Please, sir.
I have a tough task in front of me. He has given me about 7 to 8 minutes. That is one side. The other side is I am standing between the lunch and this session. So that's really a tough task. So I'll try my best to complete it within the given time. I don't have too many slides to talk about, but the task that I have set across is basically what do we see as trends in this area. I would like to bring some best practices which we have seen from our experience outside, because we have seen quite a bit of coming from India and what we have seen. Then we talk about what is happening in the JNNURM program, what is its intent, and what are the challenges that we have ahead of us. If you look at, I mean, everyone talked about there is an explosive growth that's happening, in urban population. How is it happening? What is that? If I look at it, I look at some videos that will. This is a World Bank video on how the urban
The
growth
world
is
has
happening.
become more than half urban in the last decade. Over 90% of urban growth is now occurring in the developing world. 1 billion people now live in city slums worldwide, and nearly 2 billion new urban residents are anticipated in the next 20 years. Urban populations in South Asia and Africa are
I mean, you have at least so many urban local bodies doing the same amount of a finance work. Why can't we bring that same thing to one place with a technology you can provide that service? Just to give an example, Wipro as an organization, we are present in 57 countries for about close to 145,000 employees today. The entire claims processing of employees is done at 2 floors in Bangalore. And we have a service level agreement. Within X number of days, the employee puts his claim, it will be credited to their account. So that way we have built that shared services organization using technology as a backbone. That's what the power that you can really utilize in the urban local bodies to provide this service. The same is the case with Dubai today. If you see the way they have improved in all areas is enormous from urban, which, I mean, everyone talked about it. I would not want to talk too much about it, but just let me touch upon which is a JNNURM program which started with 1,000 billion over 7 years with the focus of improving the urban infrastructure and at the end looking at completely till the slum development is the tenets of this program. The mass urbanization that has happened, and there is a huge amount of solid waste management issues that have been taken and dumped in those places that has created cancer villages in and around China. Why are we going that far? Even in my city, Bangalore, we have a huge problem of solid waste management. For about almost a week, it was not collected, the garbage was not collected because we were dumping in a place. The villagers protested. In a democracy, I mean, we can do. First and foremost, if we have to really utilize the power of JNNURM program, we will have to create the services. Here the JNNURM program is dependent mainly on how the local body provides that kind of a plan to implement those programs. So here, if you look at how can we build a single end-to-end service delivery mechanisms that are there, how do I improve the quality of the service? These are some of the tenets that we have been seeing as a consultant under the JNNURM program. What is the infrastructure that I would look at? Last, sustainability. If it really focuses on sustainability, because we have seen many e-governance programs that have started after 3 years, when the funding gets over, they will come down, they will stop. How do we really make it sustainable? Both, from a program perspective as well as from an environment perspective. Capacity building is another area which Sir talked about. I really, see this as a showstopper for any of these programs to happen. The main reason is that we don't have the people who have the capacity to implement these kind of programs. First and foremost, the project management. In many areas, we, as external partners, we see that the other side does not have the clear mandate or clear idea of what they want to achieve. If that is the challenge, then how are we going to achieve this? So here there is a huge amount of a capacity building that is required. There are many such programs that are being run under DARPG, CIO programs, CTO programs that are really, really useful, and I'm one of the speakers in such forums. These are really helpful in terms of one acquiring the knowledge to run such projects. From a technology perspective, again, my colleagues spoke about how they are doing from the entire framework. Mobile governance is something which will really take this to the next level. The reason being, accessibility of a mobile is very easy today, okay, and there is a connectivity. So with that mobile device, the smartphones which are becoming much every day cheaper, so you can really take the M-governance to the citizens with all the services that are built into it. Another area which we can really gain from a technology dimension is the GIS, because it gives a visibility. At the end of the day, if you are not able to visualize what you are doing, it would be very difficult to convince the people, or the people who are the decision makers and the people who are to participate in this. I would suggest that GIS and GPS interventions should be used much more than we are using currently. That will really, okay. I mean, the awareness, inclusiveness that you can bring using the social media is unimaginable. I mean, as we are clearly seeing that it
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. I thank you, all the guests and all the members who came here, and all the speakers who have spoken their ideas and understanding about urban governance and infrastructure. I thank you, Mr. SPS Bakshi ji, Sushil Kumar Rathore, Mr. Sanjay Boble, Murlidhar Gunod. I would request, if you have any question to honorable speakers, you can ask. Any question, please? If you have any question, you can ask. Yes, please.
That's why in all our recent tenders, we are taking a call that on recently we had this IMC related the street light between, this was also raised. We have kept a cushion that without questioning the invoice, 75% will be used of the invoices. The rest 25 subject to all sorts of scrutiny, etc. So it provides a comfort cushion. I cannot say that invoices right now we have a system which is bit archaic and it may take some time to grow. But this cushion of 75% of relief provides a good space for the bidders to take care of their cost of the project, payment towards their logistic support, payment to their personnel. I think that also we are envisaging under NML. That is also there because that was a good clue given by the IFC conference that 75% of payment on the raising of the invoice within 7 days will provide a good space and a good comfort zone to the. Right now I can only say that I cannot assure you a system of releasing 100% within 7 days. That would be too much of an expectation given the present day, the operational issue, and Wipro is one of the victims of this.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there any other question?
Again, I will just add up to this. In the government and in the public sectors now file tracking system has been generated. Now from desk to desk, now you can see online the file is available with whom, and the file is now which was pending, or it was left, or it was with particular officer for how many days. So that it also gives awareness, and also with faster in the decisions. Because if file is particular with one officer and clicks in the system, and it matters for him also for quick disposals. So with this now, IT has really, as I am telling you, in the decision making also, it has also bring a revolution. That it will make individual responsible if it is lying pending with him for how many days, why? So in the file tracking system, now the things have now gone very fast and the system is taking good shape of this. But I will again now, as Saab has mentioned, 75% payment is being released. Really, it's a very good system and it gives a good comfort. But when I was with National Highway Authority, I'm talking somewhere in 1999 to 2005, I generated a system that time that we were releasing 100% payment, but the engineer certified. And subsequently we were doing all the scrutinies and all that. And we were finding hardly there was any difference in.
Not interested in this. I spew such venoms in file. The anti-venom that is to be devised next time. Because they will be making such queries which provides again to the post-mortem agency the audit to take you from that. How you have addressed those queries, nobody will bother to look at it. They will stick to those queries and you will be repeating in their audit. And that happens how the post-mortem exercise. It is also putting many good projects into doldrums because of only these type of things. But anyway, things are changing and hopefully that doesn't become a hindrance, really a hindrance to have good partners. In that process also, we do have many bad partners. Just I will share an experience. Here the intervention of the court also is there. We had this for Kotak and Bhubaneswar, that joint solid waste project that has been working, and Crisil is our consultant to IFCO. We had processed a tender and everything. Just because we complied to our tender conditions strictly, one agency got styled it up in the court for 11 months. Again we are going on the re-tendering. Had we not complied, we would have. Now Supreme Court in umpteen number of judgments have made it very clear that bid parameters and bid qualifications are the prerogative of the client. Still then, other things happen. There is always a story to the other side of the coin. That is always there, but that's the way how our system has been built. But it is witnessing a change. Thank you.
And just two lines actually. The whole ecosystem actually is changing. You have service guarantee acts falling in place. The chicken has arrived, the egg will happen now, I suppose. So that's the way I will look at it.
Thank you. With you that we are working in Arab countries, African countries on infrastructure development. Believe me, the credibility which Indian professionals have earned in overseas is remarkable. Especially the image of India or our country has gone many folds with the upgradation or improvement in the IT sector. The way IT has captured the overseas market, it has really built up the image of our country. Recently, we have professionals and some important companies from Arab, from Oman and Saudi. They were categorically mentioning that for IT sector, no one else other than Indians. So Indian flag is very high, and I very feel proud to tell all of you that thanks to IT, the companies which are really working hard to build up the image of the country. Especially the IT, because earlier we were just projected like a country who just export the labor. That's all. But now, as now Tata, they have taken over Jaguar and Chorus, and further IT, our image has built up, and they are given not only earning, they are known as good professionals with their known credibility, but they have also uplifted the image of the country. Thank you.
Now I'll request SPS Bakshi sir to facilitate Mr. Sanjeev Bobde. Now I would request Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Mishra, Honorable Commissioner, to facilitate Muralidhar Hunnur. Now I would request Mr. SPS Bakshi, Chairman cum Managing Director, Engineering Project India Limited, to facilitate and honor Honorable Commissioner of Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Mishra. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now we'll proceed for lunch and we'll be back again at 2:30 for another session. Thank you very much. Thank you.